I'm gonna move on now to like the steps I took to prepare. I started preparing to leave back in 2017. And that was when I graduated with my bachelor's. I was kind of like, okay, I accomplished what my parents couldn't. I graduated from university, let's go. But my parents didn't want to leave. So what I just did, behind their backs and, just on my own is to save as much as possible. And then I started to, work. And I found a job where I was like, oh, the work that I'm doing is really interesting. Let's go to grad school since my parents don't want to leave yet. And maybe then they'll be convinced that I can find a job in Mexico if we leave. So I went to grad school and I finished grad school. And that's about the time I went to Mexico. I came to Mexico for advanced parole because my grandma was, sick. And, I'm glad that I did because I got to see her and my grandpa before he passed last year. Um, but anyway, I also got my passport and my INE at the Miami consulate. So I had everything kind of planned out in the background. And then in 2023, I believe, is when I joined Onward. I learned about Onward through Immigrants Rising. I used to do this mental health support groups with Immigrants Rising. So like before I did advanced parole, I did a support group on like facing uncertainty or something like that. And they helped me out with, traveling by plane internationally with DACA advanced parole for the very first time. And I was very, very scared, but nothing happened because I was, I had all my tools in my toolkit from the support group. So I felt very confident in myself thanks to them. But yeah, they were the ones that helped me find Onward. But also, I had learned about Monty like a while back in like 2017. I've like read an article about her in South Carolina, and I was like, oh, this girl is really cool. And I was just like, put two and two together once I found Onward through Immigrants Rising. I'm like, oh, Monty's part of the group. Cool. So yeah, I just kind of lurked in the group for a while. I followed the posts and I reviewed the materials, like the toolkit. Uh, Monty, they already had the toolkit up for like Mexico and a bunch of things, like the recording with I forget his name, but uh, uh, Mario, I believe. They were interviewed about, moving to Mexico and everything. And I was like, okay, this is really cool. There's people that are actually like doing what I want to do. So around that time, I was like, okay, this is 2023. I'm about to, finish grad school. I need to do internships. So I started to focus on getting internships with global corporations because I knew that if I did something with a global corporation, it was more likely that I would either be helped for an employment sponsorship, a work visa, or I can transfer internationally to wherever else they had headquarters, right? So I started to target them specifically, and I wanted at least two of them to have offices in Mexico, right? And to be able to sponsor a work visa. So yeah, I did four internships, and two were global corporations. So I was in like corporate America, and then the other one was just an NGO, but it was global as well. The NGO couldn't sponsor any type of work visa because they don't have enough money, apparently. That's what they told me. But the corporations had a lot of money, like billions. But still, they couldn't sponsor me because I had DACA. So yeah, I asked my employers to sponsor me. I asked them to transfer me out of the US. And my direct supervisors, they did support me. Like two of them. One was actually, her family was from León, from Guanajuato. So she like knew what it was like because was reverse DACA. She was undocumented in Mexico for a long time. But yeah, they just couldn't convince HR. So HR kept telling me that they couldn't sponsor me because I had DACA. DACA was enough. And also, I was an intern and they had budget issues. So, uh, my plan to legally stay in the US, help my parents, with their process and become legal faster, kind of fell through. And I was just very disappointed. But also, the Project 2025 stuff came out and I read through all of it because I'm a weird person that reads terms and conditions before I click on stuff. And that scared me. And then the election of 2024 happened, and I just decided that I didn't even want a green card anymore. So I told my parents that I was going to leave with or without them. I resigned from my internship in Chicago. I opened a bank account in Mexico, thanks to Mario, another mod in here, who told me to get my SIM card from Amazon. And I actually got the wrong one the first time, so I had to pay extra for data and messages and all that stuff. But yeah, I started to transfer my funds to my bank account in Mexico. And my aunt here, one of my aunts, started to help me out as well, to expand the limit and everything. Because when you open an account from the US, at least when I did it, you didn't have a lot, you couldn't send a lot of money. So around that time, I also started to follow Otros Dreams in Acción. And Oda has been here as a representative, and I think Needy was in the comments as well. They were helping me and Lenny. So I attended one of their Facebook lives, where like parents stopped by and like gave their testimony, and that helped my parents because I made them watch the Facebook Live, and I'm like, look, they already did it. Oh, Mario was there too. So yeah, my parents were very, very hesitant, but after watching the Facebook Live with Olga, my dad was like, yeah, I don't want to die in the US. I already had like he already had a couple heart attacks, and my mom, like I mentioned, liver issues. My grandpa died from pancreatic cancer that spread to his liver, so she was scared. I had my autoimmune issues, so I was like, this like the stress is killing us, right? So my parents told their clients that they were going to be retiring, and I just went ahead with apostilling my degrees. That was a process. So talk about bureaucracy. I had to deal with all of that, because I went to grad school in Utah, but my bachelor's was in Florida. So I had to do the whole apostilling stuff with the Utah Department of State, or the governor's office, I believe. They had no idea. My university had no idea what they were doing until I got someone else on the line to help me out. But yeah, I also started to inform doctors, my parents as well, and we started to request extra medications, um, selling our cars, and preparing my cat for the flight because I was not going to leave my cat behind, and now I have a kitten. So look at that. And we departed in early March. Um, we arrived with, a lot of potential, but also like scared of what the future would hold for us, if we were going to be okay, or we were going to be worse off, or we were going to die in a couple days, just from depression, or something bad was going to happen. But no, I mean, we did get altitude sickness. I got it really bad. Like I felt like I was gonna die. Like my lungs were compressing. But that's what happens when you move from Florida to a very high altitude region like Guanajuato. So when I did AP, I didn't get altitude sickness, so I wasn't prepared at all for that. So keep that in mind if you're moving from like a flat region of the U.S. to a hilly part of Mexico. We also got the flu twice because we didn't think about getting our flu shots. It completely passed our minds. That was something that I regret a lot. because my mom passed out on the third day of our arrival, and I thought she was actually gonna die. But yeah, we went to a private doctor here in our village. There's like two or three, and there's also a vet. So we just went, and he gave us what we needed. But unfortunately, my specialty medications, I used to inject myself because I have an autoimmune disease. Um, one of my injections made it, but the other one it went bad because it has to be like refrigerated, and if I don't keep it at a certain temperature, or if it gets too cold or too hot, it turns into toxic jelly that could kill me. So yeah, I had to stop my treatment. The medication here is very expensive, just like it was in the US. But in the US, because I was employed and I had insurance, it was like $25. Um, a packet of two injections. So it was not too bad over there. And here it's like 35,000 pesos. I don't know how to do math in my head for that large of a number. I think it's like a thousand. No, I don't know. It's expensive here too. So yeah, I stopped treatment. But I'm doing okay with just topicals and keeping my stress under control, or trying to at least. But yeah, I'm gonna go see a specialist and do lab work for what I have. There is, thankfully good doctors here for my condition. It's just, part of a rough start for us. But yeah, those were the steps that we took as a family with a cat and now an adopted kitty here, a Mexican adopted kitty. I'll pass it over to Alicia.
Thank you, Jess. And then in terms of steps to prepare to come back, I did not take any because I didn't plan on coming back. So my husband was deported in April, and I left at the beginning of July. So about 3 months later, the only thing that I did, I already had my passport. The only thing that I did is I got my degree apostille, but it was, well, in my case, I was in Salt Lake and I graduated from the University of Utah. So I just took my degree to the corresponding office, which back then was in the Capitol building. And I think it took them a few days, and then I just went to pick it up. That's it. Um, so I had that, and then I sent some money to my husband because at that point he already had a bank account here in Mexico, and I just sold all of this, our furniture, cars, everything, and that's it. I packed three big suitcases, a backpack, my purse, and I just left. So I didn't have time to prepare anything, like I said. So I don't have much to share on that.